All right, let's see if I can get this deal up and running. All right, so today we got a subject to deal that got posted. Figured I just bring it on here and analyze it. So this property, let me see if I can get the details up here. All right, this property is a subto deal, which means that we are buying a project's property subject to the existing financing in place. And this property has a 4.75% interest rate on this deal. So for this property, this is 1326 Forest Drive, Rockledge, Florida, 32955, 2-bed, 2-bath, roof 2019, AC 2020. So I'm assuming everything is pretty good. Not much you have to do. Conventional loan, 4.75%. This property has arrears of $12,000, which means that the seller probably has fallen behind on their mortgage payment. So you have to catch up in order before you take over the loan. So cash close includes arrears, so that's $30,000. So if you think about probably how I would calculate it is, you want to see what the makeup is, I would probably do, I'm assuming $10,000 assignment fee. Arrears was $12,037, and then the rest of the cash to sell is going to be $30,000 minus your arrears, minus your assignment. So the seller might still walk over $7,963. So that's probably the reason why the seller would want to sell this on subject to, because otherwise they probably would be way behind on the money and they probably wouldn't get any money at all. But this still allows them to get some money in their pocket while they're walking away from this deal, even though they still owe $12,000. I'm not in Florida. I'm in San Diego. Thanks for asking, though. So I am going to plug in some of these details there. But first, let's pull up the property on Redfin. So we took a quick look at this deal. So this is 1326 Forest Drive. Looks a little old, but also relatively turnkey. I don't see really big carpet. Are the bathrooms, could the bathrooms be more updated? Sure. There's a little Florida sunroom here. If you want to get creative, maybe you can turn this into an additional bedroom. You can get some HVAC in there and put some insulation in there. So that'll probably cost like 15, 20 grand easily. All right. So for this property, let's try and get and understand where is it in the flood zone? Okay. So it's not in the flood zone technically, but it's really close, but not technically in the flood zone. So hopefully that keeps your insurance a little bit more down, but you are right on you're right on the coast. So the wind insurance might cost you a lot of money. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get the FMR, the fair market rents. And this is in Brevard County. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Google HUD FMR. And I'm going to click on the top link for HUD FMR. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on access to small area FMR. Click on FY 2024 FMR, click on Florida, click on a county. And now you're going to get a list of all the zip codes by bedroom count, 32955, and you're going to get the maximum ceiling rents. Usually these include utilities. So you can see right here, it's at 32955, that the rent for a 2-bedroom is $1,690, but the rent for a 3-bedroom is $2,280. Interesting, right? Okay, so let's write that one down, $1,690. That's a pretty big jump from a 2 to a 3, so $2,280. So I want to just be a little bit smart and be a little bit creative and just see and double check what the rents are for a 3-bedroom is also later on the market rate. 32955, right? 32955. Okay. And I'm gonna get the rents for a 3-bed because I did see a little bit of space there for the 3-bedroom. All right, so now I'm gonna go to affordablehousing.com. I'm gonna go to the owner section, plug in the market rent estimator, plug in the bedroom count, and I'm gonna see how many. Looks like for within 0.55 mile radius, the average rent for 12 units is $1,818. Interesting. $1,818.55. Right? Okay. So I'm just double check I didn't load it. Yeah. 1777. 1777. And then the last one is going to be 1753. I like to write down all these numbers because my partner already knows how I analyze deals. So this is going to be pretty key for me to understand where these data points are and where my rent in my area for this particular property compare to other properties in the county, the city, and the zip. All right, now that I got these numbers in here, I'm going to go ahead and plug in my 3-bedroom count to see what the rents are. Do I see a big jump? $2,088. That's only $200. Yeah, not even $200. 100. Yeah, that's not enough. So let's go ahead and just write these numbers down and just we'll underwrite it, right? Let's just see how far apart are we. 2154, 2162. And I'm going to tell you my thought process for why I might not want to analyze it further. Okay. Now, I am going to assume that for the rents on this property, because the rent ceiling as a 2-bedroom 1690, and usually that includes utility, there's definitely no way that I'm going to get 1690, but I'm going to put that in there and to show you how much money you'd be losing on this deal, because we already know what the PITI is 2013. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over here so you guys can see me plugging in the details for the subject to loan. Okay. Sub 2 loan here is $263,310, 4.75% interest rate. It matures in 5/1/2052. So I'm going to assume it started in 2022, 30 years before that. There's no balloon here, no secondary loans. So I don't have to worry about that. All right. So now the PITI being 2013.7, I'm going to come to this property tax number and I'm going to plug in the exact number of 2013.7. And then I am going to subtract the principal and the interest portion of the subject to loan so that I can back into what I am paying for my property taxes and my insurance number, right? So you don't have to get your principal and interest portion exactly right, because by the time you close on this deal, it might be another month, right? These numbers will change. The most important part of this analysis process right now is you deciding whether or not this property is worth your time to send someone out there to analyze any more than you have already done so far. Okay. And by that, we just need the total PITI and we'll subtract it so that we can back to how much we're paying for property tax and existing insurance. Now, with insurance going up like crazy every single year in Florida, I'm going to add at least $50 every single month for insurance, because I'm going to assume that, hey, if it doesn't go up this year, chances are it's going to go up next year. And that's how bad the insurance market is in Florida. All right. So I'm going to put aside 10% every single month for maintenance, because look, something's going to break. Doesn't matter what it is. You might have to replace your roof in 10, 15 years, or it just might just be landscaping. Doesn't matter. You got to put aside money every single month, because that money does not belong to you. If you don't put it aside, chances are you're going to big capex item like a roof replacement or a water heater replacement, or your AC unit craps out. It's going to happen. I got 10% for property management. I got 5% for vacancy. So as is, if you rented this property, let's go through the scenarios. If you rented this property at $1,690 as a 2-bedroom, you would be losing a whopping $796 in the deal, and that'd be a negative 20% return, assuming your purchase price was $294,900. I'll just put $295 to make my life a little bit easier. And I don't even care about the furnishing right now, because I'm so far from this being even a deal. Now, if you made a mistake and you simply assume that you can get $2,280, even though we talk about it, right? You got to take the lower of the two. What does that mean? The technical term for this is called the rent reasonableness test. And this is the Housing Choice Voucher Guide. HCV stands for Housing Choice Voucher, which previously was called Section 8. Now, when you get your rent reasonableness test, this is what it means. It means that the PHA, or the Public Housing Authority, must determine whether the rent to the owner is reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units, which essentially means that you can't charge more rent to a tenant simply because they are a Section 8 voucher holder for obvious reasons. So you have to take the lower of the two, because when they see that the market rent is $2,088, they're not going to let you get $2,280. That's a $200 difference, right? So that's why you get to take the lower of the two. And a lot of people sometimes when they analyze Section 8 properties, they just come in here and take the FMR, but they have no idea whether or not that city or that county's housing authority might make adjustments upwards, right? It might be in your favor as an investor, right? We had Chai on the podcast a few weeks ago. There's certain areas in spring where they pay 20% above market rent. There are places like Boston where they adjust upwards for their payment standards because they know it's a high standard of living wherever that area is. And they have to entice in landlords. But you cannot make that assumption unless you have that clarity on exactly what your housing authority pays by bedroom count, by zip code, or sometimes even just by neighborhoods. So using 2088 as your 3-bedroom, well, in this scenario, you still be losing money. And I have not even put in maybe another 20 grand to convert that sunroom. So you might get a much lower cash and cash return, but it doesn't even matter because you're in a negative cash flow situation. So when we talk about giving a house and more, that's a great point. See, in Minneapolis, they give you more of as a single family house and not a duplex, right? Apartments will get different rates versus a mobile home versus a single family home. That's just the truth. And that's why the rent reasonableness test here, when you look at it, it looks at location, quality, size, and use type. All right, a single family home is going to have a different rent versus a duplex, an apartment. So these are all the items that you want to make sure you understand. And if you really do believe that you can get extra rents, you better go talk to the housing authority and ask them, like, hey, I think I can get this amount of rent. And they say, no, we can't. We don't give any amount of rent above market, but X and X and X. You're looking for that but. What exceptions does that housing authority make for that particular market? And that's a question that you have to find out through your relationships. And just remember, just be nice to people. Just understand that everyone's overworked and underpaid. If you really take that into consideration and you show some empathy, you might have more friends in the housing authority than you might think. All right. So for this property, after I saw that the FMR was $60.90, and I saw that the market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment was $18.18, and I saw that the PITI was $20.13, I probably would have stopped analyzing the deal right then and there. Can you rent the garage separate from Section 8? You could probably rent the garage if they allow the rent for studios, and you got to make sure you have your own access. You got to make sure that you have your own air, which is probably tough if you have a garage, to be honest with you, because who's going to control the central air? You might be able to get around that with a mini split system, I'm guessing, so that that tenant or that household has their own. And obviously, they got to have their own bathrooms. So just be mindful of that one. Good question, though. Very, very good question. All right. So that's where I probably would have stopped analyzing $100 for garage rental. You mean charge a tenant $100 for using the garage to park their car or something? Is that what you're talking about, Dave? All right. So while you're answering that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just talk to you guys for a little bit. Hope everybody had an amazing Memorial Day weekend. I knew I was working still, and I hope you all are able to get a copy of the spreadsheet you want it. If you want to check out the website I just set up to make the process to grab the spreadsheet a little bit more streamlined, you can go to affordablehousing.io and get it. And Dave, there are people that will try to charge higher than rent like that, meaning you should charge $100 for your garage rental. Just be really, really careful with that. If you ever get caught, technically it's a reputational risk, and I don't think you ever want to get in a HUD's list of bad guys, because I think for $100 a month, you probably might think it's not worth it, especially if you ever want to move on into multifamily, or you ever want to get a HUD loan for multifamily. And if you ever have any bad marks from your reputation as an investor in Section 8, I just don't think it's worth it. But you can absolutely charge $100 for renting a garage to sort of go above the market rent if you truly believe that your house is worth that incremental rent. And there's someone out there that says, like, hey, I pay only 30% of my income towards rent, or 40% of my income if it includes utilities. And usually Section 8 covers the rest. If you charge an extra $100 to that tenant to rent the garage, then now they might be even more cost burden, right? They might have 50% of their rent. And what might that do to your vacancy? I don't know. I would honestly be guessing in that scenario. So I think on a long-term basis, I think we all want to move towards that multifamily side. I'm doing ground up construction right now as a developer, and the possibilities are limitless. And that's why I truly believe that affordable housing is the best niche to be in, especially on a relatively risk-adjusted basis. So Why risk it? Why risk it? So check out the website, affordablehousing.io, and you guys will be able to get a copy of the spreadsheet. And if you guys have any issues, just DM me on Instagram at InvestWithKenHe. I'm happy to send you guys the spreadsheet manually too, if needed, but I'm trying to streamline it because I realized a lot of people were waiting for the spreadsheet over the holiday weekend, and Pia from my team was out on vacation celebrating her son's birthday. So I want to make sure that she had time to spend with her kid, and apologize if it took a little bit longer. But again, I didn't create the spreadsheet. I just leveraged it off of somebody else. I updated it, I tweaked it so that I can analyze deals really fast for my own pace, for my own case studies. And if you are into midterm rentals or short-term rentals, there's plenty of other ways to go about it. So my sincere hope is that you guys copy what I did today using the same spreadsheet, analyzing the same property, and put it on your own YouTube channel. Because then that's how you're going to develop the track record for yourself and believe in yourself. Even if you've never bought a property before, you can feel confident that you know what you're doing when the time comes. If a deal came across the table and slaps you across the face, would you recognize that it's a deal? And if a partner ever asks you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? Well, I hope by that time you would have 242 videos on your YouTube videos and show them, hey, I know this is a deal because I've looked at 242 deals. Might that give you a little bit more confidence that you know what you're doing? Might that give your partners know? Might that help your partners realize that you know what you're doing? I certainly hope so. So this is why we do this. I hope you guys go live. I hope you guys tag me. I will be your #1 supporter. I'll be your subscriber. I know how hard it is to grow a following. I know how hard it is to build a community. Just don't quit. That's the only way we're going to solve this affordable housing problem. It's if we lift each other up and we keep making each other better. All right. I hope you guys have an amazing night. Have an amazing Wednesday. I hope you guys spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. All right. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 243. Let's keep this going. Thanks, Trevor.